please welcome Executive Vice President Evan Goldberg.
All right, after that, I am pumped. I knew that Little League was going to come in handy someday. I told my wife about it. I said, yeah, I'm going to like smash this class. She's like, oh, what's that all about? And I said, it's Grow Beyond. She's like, really? I mean, like, is it like growing beyond the glass ceiling? No. Is it like, Mazel Tov at a wedding? I'm like, no, it's just breaking glass. I mean, you just, go with it. No deeper meaning, except I do recommend it. I'm actually going to have one of these installed in my office every morning. It's awesome. OK, so I've been kicked upstairs this year. I'm not doing any demos. But I'm going to talk a lot about growth, because our theme is Grow Beyond. And today I'm going to talk about a blueprint for growth. But we must start with the ever-present safe harbor statement. We're going to talk a lot about growth. Almost all of it is true growth, but take everything with a grain of salt, and please read every single word of that. Now I'm switching to the next slide. Want to thank all our sponsors, incredible companies. You can see them all at the expo floor. As you can see, the font keeps getting smaller and smaller. That just is a testament to how many great companies are building great extensions to NetSuite. I want to give a special shout out to our diamond sponsors, Avalara and Dell Boomi. Woo! All right, now you can go crazy over our titanium sponsor, Deloitte Digital. All right, great stuff. Thank you again. No, it's really, they are incredible help in putting this all together, everything you're going to see over the next few days. So welcome to SuiteWorld19 Grow Beyond. All right, you're pumped. Hey, what? OK, do you guys need to come up and break the glass? I mean, I can get them to set it up again. OK, well, anyway, you're probably thinking, when does the product session start? Well, it starts after lunch. I'm passing the clicker to Gary. But if this presentation isn't going well, I'm just going to have him switch over to that one, because, love showing demos. But Gary's going to show all the demos. Please come by this afternoon after lunch. And then tomorrow, Unlocking Growth with Jason. There's a tall guy who's going to be there, so he should know a lot about growth. So Jason and Shaq tomorrow between 9 and 10:30. And last year we did a women's leadership lunch. This year we have a whole track. Tomorrow afternoon, the general session in the Venetian Ballroom from 1:15 to 2:45, sponsored by Deloitte Digital. And then GlowFest. Wednesday night with DJ Diesel. You can see him back there, making a return visit to SuiteWorld. It's at the Palms. We're going to be the first guests to open up the brand new Chaos Club, because when you think of NetSuite, you think of chaos, right? No, not chaos. But tomorrow night, or Wednesday night, you guys, yeah, it's tomorrow night. It's hard to keep track of the dates. Tomorrow night, Chaos is in the house. And so, OK, we're ready to begin. Grow Beyond. What does Grow Beyond mean? Well, it should be immediately apparent from the slide. Do you all get it? Skyscrapers and clouds. But if you're here today, you're likely in an organization that's trying to increase its impact. And but the journey, wherever you begin and wherever you hope to end, it's not a straight line. And it's filled with twists and turns and side roads and forks. I'm going to be doing a lot of metaphors, so just be prepared for that. Sometimes it requires paving entirely new paths, and sometimes you achieve your most significant milestones by overcoming obstacles. So Grow Beyond is when you see that challenge, you meet that challenge with entrepreneurial spirit and grit, breaking glass. When you do that, extraordinary things can happen. It's where growth really accelerates. We've seen it in our own business. So some of you have heard the NetSuite story over the past 20 years. We've grown NetSuite through many triumphs and challenges. It started with a 5-minute phone conversation where we developed our North Star. And some of the best ideas are in 5-minute phone conversations. That's one takeaway you should have from this presentation. But no, we thought about what we wanted to do. We had it We had our mission. A little while later, we saw it in action. We saw a dashboard in a browser that showed everything about our business. That was sort of the aha moment where I was taking a little bit on faith before that. I saw the dashboard in my browser. I said, oh, yeah, this is going to work. I can see everything about my business wherever I am, anytime, anywhere. A lot of great milestones along the way, sort of some twists and turns that we've had to navigate. One of the first ones was on Christmas Eve, a couple years later, a customer posted on the user group, said, my site is not working. It's Christmas Eve. I need it working by tomorrow. I mean, we were like 10 people at the time. But I happened to be going through the user group at 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and as I'm wont to do. And I saw it, and that was back in the day we could fix things really fast. I'm like, OK, hit return. OK, is it working now? He was super happy. But it was, all of his sales could come in the next day. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because that was sort of the aha moment for us when we realized that we're not providing a product, we're providing a service. And we have to deliver this service every day, 365 days a year. Other things that have kind of caused us to shift and maybe make us look a little bit different at the business. We saw manufacturers are using NetSuite much more than we had ever expected, just by looking at our own data. And so then we had to have new thinking about how to build NetSuite to help them be successful. And then a big twist a couple years ago, the Oracle acquisition, and it's actually allowed us to really refocus on great companies that are growing from the startup phase to become multi-hundred-million-dollar companies. So our vision from that 5-minute conversation has remained consistent. It's really about enabling our customers to achieve their vision. And we do that by delivering one system in the cloud that can help you grow. And that's always been our true north. But with any true north, it's easy to lose sight of it. When distractions kind of can get you to veer out of the way, and you're getting advice from everybody. Adversity is challenging some of your assumptions. Those are the times when you need your North Star the most. We think about that all the time as we build new great capabilities into NetSuite, tackle new verticals like apparel or industrial supply or agencies, different verticals sort of across the spectrum. We're always keeping that true north in mind about one system in the cloud that can help businesses grow and help businesses achieve their business vision. And I'm sure your business your journey has had twists and turns. You started with a mission, your own true north, to invent something, to fill an untapped need, a hole in a given market, launch a new service. You've had adversity and triumph, but you're here and you've survived and you're ready to grow beyond, and we want to help. You had this great vision. You're some of the most innovative companies in the world. You've been executing. You know that if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And NetSuite customers have been growing faster, 3 times faster than the S&P 500, and we're super happy to be part of this journey. SuiteWorld is all about sharing your stories with like-minded companies, with NetSuite folks, with the tremendous array of partners we have in the exhibit hall, and learning how to grow smarter and faster. So as we've worked towards our mission to deliver one system in the cloud to help businesses grow, we've learned that every business has 5 key needs that help them grow effectively. These are visibility, control, agility, productivity, and collaboration. These 5 attributes for success are the blueprint for growth. And they become harder and harder to achieve as you grow. You don't know every customer. You don't know every employee. So throughout SuiteWorld, hopefully you'll see some strategies to have your business system counteract this phenomenon and keep you on track towards your true north. So I'm going to focus on 3 of these: visibility, control, and agility. It starts with visibility. Visibility means seeing your past, your present, and your future, how your business has performed historically, how it's operating now, and trends that may lead to opportunities for more efficiency and more growth in the future. So you generally measure outcomes. I know a lot of people in here are running profit and loss statements and looking at their revenue and their cash flow. their bottom line, their expenses. And these are all critical metrics. But there's a lot behind those metrics, and there might be hidden threats lurking, blind spots that prevent you from truly seeing trends that may hamper growth. And these are things like a flawed revenue mix, too much services, not enough recurring revenue, creeping costs, customer churn, inefficient processes, new competitors that are making it harder for you to close deals. Employee productivity is going down, or employees are leaving. These are the blind spots that you need to be able to see if you're going to respond to them. But it's not all bad. So visibility unearths guideposts along the way. These are better ways to achieve growth and aim towards your true north. These are the shortcuts, the better routes towards your true north. These are things like what regions are performing best. What are your highest margin projects? Where do you have the highest customer satisfaction? Where do you have strong employee retention? Who are your top sales reps? I mean, these are some of the trends you need to be able to see and then respond to. And answering those questions requires visibility, and that's where NetSuite can help. We've been talking for a long time about this, and I'm really excited to announce that in the version 19.1 that's rolling out right now, we have the general availability of Suite Analytics. Yeah, okay? Yeah. You guys have tried it, and you've liked it. You'll hear from Gary later today and get to see a demo, but I wanted to call this out in particular because it's such an important part of how NetSuite can help you grow. It starts with the workbook, and you guys are going to learn to know and love the workbook. This is where you do all your critical analysis. It starts with the ability to identify the data, explore the data, find those critical financial and operation metrics for decision making. When you've found the data, next we're going to deliver on probably the most requested feature in NetSuite history. It garnered huge applause when we showed a prototype years ago. This is the ability to simple drag and drop pivot in the system to slice and dice the data however you need. And this is how you're going to achieve deeper insights. Yeah, all right, got it. Several years later, it still gets applause. Okay, so then you go and you can create charts with multiple series. So example, inventory versus orders to see if you're keeping up with demand. Then put those charts on your dashboard for up-to-the-minute visibility into your key metrics every single time you log into NetSuite. So be sure to attend Gary's session later to learn more about this and other great areas that we're improving visibility. And the need for visibility plays out in all kinds of businesses, in all kinds of industries. But I wanted to call out nonprofits because they sort of have a unique situation. There are 1.5 million US tax-exempt organizations, and they garner $410 billion in donations, which represent 2% of GDP. And increasingly, their donors and their stakeholders are asking for transparency. They want to be able to see and touch that donations are making an impact. There are even watchdog sites now that give you ratings based on your financial performance, if you're adhering to your mission, whether your program is efficient. And this can be a barrier to growth. You're not going to get those donations if you can't provide that sort of transparency. So that's something that we're really thinking about as we focus NetSuite on nonprofits. And so when it comes to outcomes, I wanted to bring up somebody that really knows about great outcomes. The American Cancer Society stands as one of the leading lights in changing the lives of individuals and families touched by cancer, which is basically all of us. So to hear more about their journey and how they've gained visibility into their business, I'd like to bring up their CFO, Rob King. Thanks, Rob. Rob's an old hand at this. We talked on stage in your home city of Atlanta, but now we're in Las Vegas, so you can kind of, adjust the material for this Las Vegas audience. So most people have heard of the American Cancer Society, but maybe they haven't heard about your growth journey. So how did the American Cancer Society start?
Yeah, so we are over 100-year-old organization, and we were formed in 1913 by a small set of medical professionals who really just wanted to bring awareness about cancer, because certainly back then it was something you didn't talk about. We didn't know much about it, and they recognized that knowledge is power. And so you have to start talking about it. And it really created this whole groundswell volunteer grassroots organization that really is who we are today. 1946, through the work of an incredible volunteer, launched a research program. Now over $4.8 billion in research that we have granted in the past 70 years. And it's sort of morphed into what is now the modern American Cancer Society.
Fantastic. And we've talked about a true north. So what is the American Cancer Society's true north?
Yeah. So our mission is to save lives, celebrate lives, and lead the fight for a world without cancer. And we mean that every single day. And we're focused on the cancer patient and the cancer caregiver at the end of the day. And it's all about how can we reduce the suffering that comes from cancer. And we're here, we've always been here, and we're going to be here until we do that.
Fantastic. And so another thing we talked about is visibility, and that even other stakeholders outside the organization need visibility, but you need visibility. You have a huge organization, incredible. You have volunteers and donors and employees and researchers. So what are some of the efforts that you've undertaken to improve visibility into your operations?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, visibility is critical for our organization. In a lot of ways, we're no different than any other business. We have to manage our revenues and our expenses, and we need to understand all of that. But visibility allows us to tell our story. It allows us to demonstrate how we're impacting every single day. And so and certainly in a world where digital is everything, we want to be able to interact and interface with donors and customers in the ways they want to work with us. And so that increases the complexity, I'll say, of visibility, but it certainly doesn't diminish it. And so we've been through a period over the past couple of years of really modernizing all of our systems, including our financial system.
Yeah, and so how has NetSuite kind of given you some of that better visibility?
Absolutely. So we launched NetSuite about a month ago.
All right.
And I'm here.
It went well, yeah, obviously.
And
I'd be talking to a vacuum if it didn't. So.
And our systems were really the evolution of an organization that existed and evolved over the past 50 years. And so by launching NetSuite, cloud-based, really giving us visibility to our current organization, really allowing us to integrate with other applications in ways that hopefully we've never been able to do before. Yeah.
And you're a sprawling organization. I mean, you're like in every city,
yeah.
right? And so that must give some challenges to you in terms of just sort of maintaining control over everything that's going on. So how have you responded to some of those challenges?
Yeah, so like I said, we've been through a lot of change, and good change, and really learning to work with our customers in ways that they want to work. Mm-hmm. And so a big piece of that was developing a financial system, for example, and CRM systems that mirrored how we work with our customers and how they want to work with us. And that's really that's really where the journey we've been on for the past couple of years.
Okay, so almost everybody's heard about American Cancer Society. They probably know some elements of what you do, but maybe you could cover sort of the range of things that you do, because it's really kind of a unique set of different approaches that you take towards your mission.
I would love to. We are a comprehensive cancer organization. We cover the whole spectrum of cancer, certainly from a patient perspective. I mentioned research. That is the hallmark of what we do. Like I said, over $4.8 billion in research since 1946. And we've also historically, certainly since the 90s, have had a focus on early investigators. So really giving early investigators a jump start in their career. And now you're going to see us play into more translational. We just launched an impact fund, really allowing us to invest in today's solutions, which is exciting. We also have a whole pillar around prevention, early detection. Guidelines, colorectal, breast cancer, I could name them all. All the guidelines that your physicians use, the American Cancer Society is pivotal there. Very focused on public health campaigns like colorectal screening, HPV vaccinations. That vaccination or series of vaccination can help prevent over 90% of all HPV-related cancers. We have a public policy and advocacy arm based in DC, the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, and working at the federal, state, and local level. I'm sure everyone enjoys smoke-free laws, and that is in part due to the work of your American Cancer Society and Cancer Action Network. And then the fourth big pillar is patient programs and services. And so we recognize that despite all of the discoveries and technologies that exist, people still need access. And so that's where we also play a role with a big focus around a couple of areas: information, just giving people information so that they can make smart decisions. Lodging, we have a Hope Lodge program where cancer patients can stay free of charge at or near their cancer treatment, their health systems. We have about 32 of those, and then also some lodging partners. And then we also have a transportation program, Road to Recovery. And it's a volunteer network as well as some other rideshare organizations that partner with us that allow us to get cancer patients to the treatment they need.
All right, that's super cool. And we actually have a little video about the Road to Recovery. So can you please roll the video?
I was all alone. I live all alone. American Cancer came through that they got me to where I needed to be.
I don't drive because I am blind. Riding other services for handicapped people, sometimes you're on the bus for 2 hours, and if you have cancer, you know you don't feel it well enough to ride on the bus for 2 hours.
I was struggling with transportation. I mean, most of the time I was taking public transport.
We're so proud to partner up with the American Cancer Society. We never want to see patients be turned away or can't do treatment because they don't have hotel accommodations.
More people need to get involved because this needs to happen. I mean, people need to come and they need to get their treatment, and more hotels need to come and become partners.
This is the face of cancer. Everybody, young, old, we all want to survive.
And this is something solvable, and I think we could solve this in Las Vegas, and we should be able to solve it in every community.
Fantastic. All right, well, I want to bring up someone from that video. I thought she was the best, actually.
Definitely.
And so I'd like to introduce a Road to Recovery patient, Cathy Patenaude.
All right, you're on. Almost there.
Thanks, Cathy. And you're local, huh?
Yes, I've been here 5 years.
In Vegas, fantastic. You actually told me exactly how to get to your house earlier, but you don't have to tell all these people. You don't need them all visiting. So can you just tell us a little bit more about your experience with the Road to Recovery program?
I was diagnosed with CML leukemia, never had a sign or symptom in 2012, how I lost my sight. And coming here, I needed transportation, not just because I'm blind, because most people too sick to drive to your treatment, your doctor. So coming here, I found through the American Cancer Foundation that there is transportation, volunteer, and others, and that's what we're here to hope get donations and people encouraged to help everybody, because there's somebody sitting next to you has cancer, you don't know it. Maybe your family, somebody you've lost. So I encourage you to help any way you can. Thank you.
And I mean, I think this is going to be like the easiest challenge ever. But we have a challenge for you guys. Stop by the American Cancer Society on the expo floor and learn more about creating a world free of cancer and ways to help Cathy and other patients. As Cathy mentioned, cancer's touched everybody in some way or another. So join us in creating a personal pledge to help create a world free of cancer. So that can be done in a bunch of different ways. You can wear sunscreen, pledge to wear sunscreen, pledge to avoid tobacco, pledge to volunteer for the ACS, pledge regular cancer screenings, pledge regular exercise. And if we achieve 2,000 pledges, and I see a lot more than 2,000 people out there, so this should be a slam dunk, NetSuite will donate $10,000 to the American Cancer Society. Well, thank you so much, Cathy, for being here. Thanks, Rob, for everything you and your organization does.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Have a vision. If you clapped, please go. It takes a second of your time. Thank you.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. So it's great to have visibility. We're back to NetSuite. How do you respond to what you see? If you don't have a steering wheel, now actually most of us will not have steering wheels in the future, but right now you need a steering wheel. If you can't respond, there's not much you can do about what you see. And every business wants to be able to control outcomes, to stay on mission, to keep towards that true north. And the greatest threat to growth is loss of control. But with control, you can grow the right way. On your journey, there's going to be destabilizers and distractions. And you're in a different situation as your organization grows. And I definitely saw it as we grew NetSuite. You can't check in on every sales rep. You can't check in on every warehouse person. Well, we didn't have warehouse people, but you can't check in on every project manager. Things start dropping. Multiple systems create chaos. That was really the impetus for NetSuite way back in 1998. But there's going to be exogenous factors. There's going to be destabilizers that come from the outside. There's going to be economic change. NetSuite went through 2 major downturns. There's going to be trade agreements. I don't know if you've read about this whole trade thing. There's going to be foreign exchange volatility. There's going to be stuff that happens in your company that you can't predict. There's going to be fraud. There's going to be theft. I mean, it's just inevitable. There's going to be audits. We all shudder at that thought. There's going to even be human error. So we're going to talk in a few moments to Vice Media. This is a company that has grown so fast, and they're really redefining what it means to be a media company. And they've had to figure out how to maintain control in the midst of tremendous change. I mean, some of this change that's affecting them. Digital advertising is now dominated by Google and Facebook. If you don't understand the whims and their algorithms, it can totally change your results. Apple just launched a subscription news service. Is this a friend or a foe? And Vice has managed to stand out amidst that backdrop. They've expanded their organization into 13 countries. And to talk about this, I'd like to bring out our partner, Deloitte Digital and Vice Media. Please join me in welcoming the Chief Accounting Officer of Vice, Shawn Assad, and Principal from Deloitte Digital, John Peto. Shawn, thank you.
Thank you, Evan.
Shawn, thanks for coming up. So we're thrilled to have you guys here. So, Shawn, maybe you could tell us a little bit about Vice and Vice's growth.
Sure. So Vice is the world's preeminent young media company and content creation studio. It was created in 1994 and operates over 30 countries. Vice distributes over hundreds of millions of content monthly to users across its digital, linear, mobile, and social. Vice includes an international network of digital channels, a very successful in-house creative agency company, a magazine, and also a network in joint venture with A&E called Viceland.
And so you're Chief Accounting Officer, so you probably think a little bit about control. What are some of the challenges of maintaining control as your organization's grown?
Absolutely. So internal controls are important to every organization because it represents technically the assumptions used by management and other key personnel. So internal controls is very important because without it, you're going to have the wrong proper segregation of duties, and also the lessons that I learned about internal controls are 2 things. You need to have an organizational structure with the proper segregation of duties, and most of the time, private companies, they have a lean accounting structure, and it's going to be very hard to allocate the right resources to a high risk. That's why a risk assessment is very important for the company so management can understand those high risk areas. And also another area that I have other issues, which is a lack of monitoring controls. And technically, most of the private companies, they don't have the internal audit function, which is making it very hard. So I highly recommend that you assess your controls, your effectiveness, and have constant communication with the controllership group so you can understand all the issues that can arise.
Okay, and so you guys have had incredible growth, but growth is hard. Maybe you can share some of the advice you'd have for all these growing companies and organizations.
So most of the high growth companies struggle with the when moment of scaling a business. And that issue is because the founders of the business, they care mostly about the product and not about the plumbing and the wiring that support the growth in the future. So scaling a business is different than creating a business. So the question is, when is the right time to hire like more people, like a CAO, a CTO? And more you wait, more it's going to be very hard to implement the right processes. Before joining Vice, I worked for large companies, and I took for granted those processes. And when I joined Vice, I didn't have the right processes, I didn't have the right people. So I took a step back, and I challenged the assumptions. And also, I made key decisions that are right for Vice. So I create an organization with the right function, with the right people. So the lesson learned here about growth is, don't design roles around the wrong people. Again, at Vice, I had to let go the wrong people, hire the right people. And also, best practices are important to the company, but it provides only like an incremental change. You really, like, again, going back to what I said, it's very important to challenge the assumptions and understand what is right for your company. And that's when you're going to tap to an exponential growth.
Perfect. And you know, I don't get paid unless I ask you about NetSuite.
Sure.
So I have to mention NetSuite in this. So I'm going to ask you, you've transformed the finance operations of Vice. And tell us a little bit about that and how NetSuite's played a role.
Absolutely. So we went live globally with Vice in January of this year. And before that, we had like 3 systems that didn't talk to each other. So it was very hard for me to implement a process, a global process, and also consolidation took forever to be done. So I didn't have the right data to communicate to senior management to make the right decision. So we tried to make so that's why we invested in finding the right ERP. And NetSuite, what we liked about NetSuite, because it's a cloud base, and also within its core competency, it has the scalability and usability and very easy user interface, which has reduced the time for training, also helped me with change management. And another thing that I liked about NetSuite is data security is important to me, and also to the chief legal officer. And NetSuite spent a lot of resources and time on strong internal control and data security breach. So.
Great. Well, thanks, Shawn. And John, Deloitte's worked with Vice and lots of other fast-growing companies. What do you see as the core to these companies' growth?
Yeah, thanks, Evan. It's a pleasure to share the stage with you and Shawn. And perhaps this is risky with a lot of finance people in the room, but structures and controls obviously matter. But we believe the key to growth is elevating the human experience. And I can hear some of you ask, what the hell does that mean? So here's what we think it means. So none of us wake up in the morning as just customers or employees or God help us, just a transaction. We wake up as messy, complicated, emotional people who, outside of food and shelter, most basic need is to feel seen, valued, and heard. And we believe passionately that those companies that can forge authentic human connections are those that will command loyalty, will create advocacy, and drive growth. And focusing on the totality of the experiences you're delivering are what is the engine of those connections. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's inspirational. Thanks a lot, Shawn. And Shawn, really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll keep that absolutely in mind. It's about the people. Fantastic. So we heard a little bit from Vice, and they're a company that provides amazing content. I want to talk a little bit on the product side. Same kind of challenges, and product companies are going through incredible growth. They're expanding international. A really interesting case study is Gymshark. They're an athletic apparel company. They were started by a 19-year-old, so you're all kind of old, sorry, named Ben Francis. He started out of his parents' garage in the UK, very cliche, but it worked incredibly well. He and his friends sewed the apparel themselves, started a web store sell it online. It exploded, big hit. Was recently named the fastest growing company in the UK. Now they sell their athletic apparel globally. They have facilities all over the world. They've announced they're launching a new fitness app, and they've opened a fitness center in the UK, so fundamentally changing some of their business models. And you can learn more about Gymshark on Wednesday. Their COO, Chris Perrins, is speaking at the session, Act Global, Operating at a Global Scale. It's at 1:30 in the Venetian Ballroom C, Level 2. And just ask somebody out there, I'm sure they'll be able to help you find that. That's what I've been doing. Okay, so as our customers have grown globally, so has NetSuite. Since 2016, we're operating in 21 new countries with new country localizations. And that brings us to 212 countries and dependent territories that we operate in. And also since the acquisition, there have been 20,000 new international subsidiaries. That represents over half of the new subsidiaries in NetSuite customers. And so, you know, as you expand globally, as we expand globally, we see a lot of the same things. You want to maintain consistency across your now sprawling organization, but there's differences in language, there's differences in tax laws and other regulations, and this is sort of the tension. Even if you just look at currency issues, so we're going to talk a lot more about some of the research we've been doing as an organization, but one piece of data we found is that 76% of customers look for sites. They specifically look for sites that price all their products in their home currencies. So as an e-commerce vendor, this is one of the challenges as you grow. And Gary's going to be talking about more of our globalization features. After lunch, he'll have some cool demos. And just wanted to show you a couple of these because we've got some great stuff, some great enablers for global expansion. The first of these is installments. So these are, I got to get into the demos. They didn't actually let me show demos, but I'm like, I got to show some product. Come on. So these new capabilities, installments, help customers adhere to local business practices, control multiple due dates for each transaction, not as common in the US, very common internationally. Our global expense management allows our employees to quickly and easily capture expenses in any currency and be reimbursed in any currency, and it's optimized to run on mobile. Customers can now streamline compliance. You know, when I was breaking the glass, you know what I was thinking of? Sweet tax. So customers can streamline compliance with different tax requirements around the world. We have many partners. They're here. Avalara, many other partners here at SuiteWorld. And Sweet Tax allows you to eliminate the need to manually monitor tax rate changes over more than 100 countries. This has become especially important here in the US, where sales tax can be applied in any state for your commerce transactions. So Sweet Tax also supports compliance with that. And then finally, customers can now simplify and streamline intercompany trade business processes. As your companies grow, you add subsidiaries, you're going to be transacting more and more across these subsidiaries, and NetSuite is working really hard to help you automate these, including transactions, reconciliations, and netting. So I've talked about visibility and control, and these will definitely help you navigate your growth. But there's another element your business or organization needs. It's agility, because the route to your true north is not going to be straight. It's called True North, but you still got to bob and weave. I'm going to have a few more metaphors, so you can just count them at this point. Every time I do a metaphor, you know, someone can say drink. So you'll need to avoid sudden obstacles, there's one, make some quick turns, another, and adjust to a fluid landscape, a third. But agility really is about capitalizing on the opportunities that these obstacles actually represent. So control is great. It helps you when you know your path to growth. But if your route changes, that's where agility can keep you from going off the road. Drink. There'll be inflection points. We've seen a ton of inflection points in NetSuite's journey, and you can hopefully see those. Visibility lets you see some of those inflection points coming, and agility lets you capitalize on them. So some of these inflection points that some of your organizations might have seen: evolving business models, new engagement platforms, new ways to reach your customers with new marketing channels, the advent of increased corporate social responsibility, the virtualized workforce, and of course, AI and machine learning. How does that affect me? And so one of the most common inflection points, as I mentioned, is business model changes. So many industries are being upended by upstart companies that are thinking about new ways to deliver a product as a service or a service as a product. And ultimately, you're going to be operating with an omni business model. And this is where agility can really help. So these companies like Roku or Hint, or there's a company, Bark, with its subscription delivery service for dogs. So the omni business model has come to dogs, all right? So you guys have to be on top of it. And the lines are blurring between what defines these industries and these categories that we've used for so many years. What's a manufacturer? What's a retailer? What's a distributor? If you're a manufacturer, you're also trying to reach your end consumer directly. If you're a distributor, you might be starting to reach some of your customers via a retail outlet. So really have to think about that omni business model. And here's an example, our customer Roku. So business models change and as customer demands change. And more people are cutting the cord. They want to move away from paying for expensive cable bills with channels that they don't even watch. And Roku's been on top of that. They actually started as part of Netflix. They saw this consumer need early on, and now they're the dominant player in the streaming TV space. They have a wide selection of hardware. You can use it via a stick or even a service built right into the existing smart TVs. And they started out by creating and manufacturing streaming hardware. But they've evolved now to partner with the streaming services, and they offer sort of a one-stop shop for all these services, whether you want to watch Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Showtime, the new Apple TV service. So they've gone beyond providing a product to offer a service to manage customers' subscriptions, but still keeping their eye on that true north, which is delivering the best possible streaming experience to their customers. And NetSuite's really uniquely suited to the challenges of the omni business model. There's some great capabilities that we're highlighting at SuiteWorld across all of these. And you have access to all of these capabilities as your business transforms. So this is the other thing I was thinking as I hit it, is the new lease accounting standard. It gets me fired up. But there really are a lot of changes in leases, and customers are asking for new ways of acquiring and paying for product. And our support for leases helps customers streamline their financial management and dramatically improve efficiencies in dealing with leases. Our allocation and commitment engine, all about delivering product, the best way to allocate product, quickly identify potential issues and generate recommendations so your customers get the product when they want it. Updates to the Oracle Bronto marketing platform deliver more relevant, consistent brand experiences, give you increased visibility into commerce data, improves campaign ROI measurement, and it optimizes email delivery. How do you reach these thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of customers that want to use your product or service? And Suite Billing, sort of the ultimate omni business model enabler. One invoice for whatever you sell. You can easily sell subscriptions, products, services, all together. And for the services you provide for your customers, whether you're a pure service company or a software company, our latest project management and billing enhancements revolving around the work breakdown structure. And many of you in here know what that is, and some of you are like, what is a work breakdown structure? But it's really about giving increased visibility into project reporting and stronger control over time and expenses. And then finally, when it comes time to deliver products, our new mobile WMS solution helps customers optimize their inventory management and deliver inbound, outbound inventory operations, give great availability, tighten control over the entire inventory lifecycle. So all of these things come with NetSuite, whatever part of the omni business model your organization is being driven by. And I talked about our mission earlier as being one system delivered in the cloud that can help businesses grow. And when you start to unlock more parts of what NetSuite offers, it unlocks more automation, it unlocks more collaboration, more ways to build exponential value. Retail customers that use financials and e-commerce and inventory and planning and budgeting are getting not just the value of each of those modules, but the combined value of those capabilities when they're actually linked together. And doing that's going to dramatically improve your visibility. You're going to be able to see all parts of your business. You'll get unprecedented control, because if you have one system, that makes it so much easier to enforce that control. And then finally, you're going to be more agile than ever because all users are going to be playing with the same playbook, but when it says you got to pivot right, everybody's going to be pivoting right. And many of our customers are taking advantage of advanced customer support. And this is a dedicated support team that will help you pull all this together and unlock all the potential of NetSuite. We're responsive to the results you're achieving with NetSuite. We can proactively monitor your use of the service and help you leverage new releases and new capabilities to help you grow faster. Unlock the full value of the suite because the more you use, the more value you get, and the more you can grow. So I wanted to talk about one more product that I'm excited about, and that really epitomizes this idea of tying everything together. It's a great example of what can happen when you bring visibility, control, and agility to the game as you run your organization. So HR is something that can often operate in a silo. They have profile information on employees. They may send out a form that you can use to conduct performance reviews. But if people drive the success and growth of your organization, they can't be disconnected from the performance of the overall business. So with Suite People, we're actually tying the performance of the business together with the performance of the employees. You'll get the best possible visibility and control over your most important resource. I think we'll all agree that that's our people. And through communication and performance monitoring and goal setting, it gives you a way to respond quickly to what's ahead. The impact on your organization can be enormous. So let's say you have a warehouse picker. Rather than being sort of isolated from what's going on in the business, you might have certain metrics that they can see, that they see on their dashboard, that they know they're being measured by. And so if you can look at your efficiency in the warehouse, tie it to the metrics, pop into Suite People, and then tie the individual's performance to conduct a performance review, you're linking the business model to the people strategy. And it's really bringing much more relevance to performance management. It's another example of what we call sweetness. And that's the idea that the more of NetSuite you use, the more value you get. And that value becomes exponential. So since we're talking about people, let's talk about motivating people and getting them to unleash their creativity. So the Second City. You may know them for their consumer-oriented sketch comedy. But Second City Works has been expanding across the US to help businesses and business leaders. So let's bring up Kelly Leonard to discuss how this happens. Thanks, Kelly. From our mutual hair issues,
yes.
I can tell you that
we're good duo.
I can tell that you've been at Second City for a long time. So can you tell us about how Second City has grown, some of the things you've seen over those years?
Sure. Second City started in 1959. I showed up in 1988. My first gig was as a dishwasher. Not a good job. I got hired as a dishwasher the same day that Jon Favreau got hired, and we both had mullets. There's photographic evidence. But when I started at Second City, there were no computers. We didn't take credit cards. Bonnie Hunt and Mike Myers were on the resident stage. Chris Farley had just been hired in the touring company. And as I moved into a leadership role, I took over producing in 1992, and my first cast included Stephen Colbert and Steve Carell, Total Hacks. But then I saw we got computers. And then we started taking credit cards. When I started at Second City, the accounting system was Aunt Nettie, and that's not a platform, it was someone's aunt. So we really saw Second City move from being a theater to turn into a content and education company. And the business that grew the most was our corporate work, taking the practices of improvisation, which underlie all the training at Second City, and bringing those to businesses that need to have their people be more creative, collaborate better, and show some resilience and agility in the moment. So everything you're talking about, I was thinking as I was sitting there that we sort of unlock the code in human beings to be better at what they do with other human beings.
And let's talk about it specifically for businesses. So how does it work, that when businesses are doing these kinds of improvisation?
Sure.
How does it help them directly?
Well, so no one is handed a script to walk through life. And even if they are, so many things happen that you can't rely on probably that script. So we go into many businesses, and we do content as well, and marketing, those services, but the biggest part of our business is when we get brought in to train people, to give them more agency, to sort of unlock their ability to say yes and in the moment. I think what we know about most human beings is that their default setting is to do nothing or to say no. In our work, the cardinal rule of improvisation is you can't say no and you can't stop at yes. You have to say yes and to affirm and contribute in order to explore and heighten. And it's one thing about reading that in a book, but that doesn't change behavior. What changes behavior is when you practice it over time and when you collaborate in the moment. And I give these talks all the time, and there's always people in the back who say, if I yes-anded every idea, I'd get nothing done. So 2 things I know. One, whoever said that, they're a nightmare to work with. And more importantly, yes and operates at the front end of innovation. It's 5 minutes at the beginning of a brainstorm. Because you say no enough to a person, they're not going to bring you more ideas. They're just going to sit there in silence.
And again, get paid for mentioning NetSuite. Tell us how NetSuite helps you laugh.
Well, all right. So I noticed that you have not developed sweet comedy. And I think that's primarily...
We can partner with you guys on that.
We could. In and of itself, computers are not funny.
But we're working on it.
We are, and they are...
We're going to use the random function.
They are. But what NetSuite does is allows our numbers to talk to each other.
All right.
In the same way that we try to instill in human beings new processes so that they can sort of better unleash their own creativity, importantly with other people. What NetSuite does is free us up so that I'm nowhere near accounting.
Yeah.
No one wants me anywhere near it.
Yeah, you can focus on what you want to really do, which is help bringing this improv to business. So instead of just talking about it, let's go ahead and try it.
Yeah, we're going to show, don't tell. So I'm going to bring up 2 of my colleagues, Becca and Colleen, and are you game to improvise?
I was told this morning I have to do this, and I want you to set your expectations like here.
Low bar.
Actually, like here.
Below the stage.
But I'll do my best.
I will cede the stage to the improvisers.
All right.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, I'm Colleen.
I'm Becca.
And we are going to improvise with you, Evan.
All right.
Okay, so the way this is going to work is I'm going to be the director, and these 2 folks are going to play. And what it means to play is just have a conversation. But the twist is that anytime during the conversation, I can ring this bell and point to one of you, and whoever I'm pointing at has to take back the last word or phrase of what they just said and replace it with something new. I can take that back up to 3 times, and the last one that is taken back is the one that you keep building on. So for example, if I had Becca take it back, it might sound something like this.
I have a dog. I have a cat. I have a really bad rash.
Okay. So there is truth in comedy, and we're going to learn a lot. So to get us started, let's get a suggestion from the audience. Can you shout out your favorite vacation destination? Spain. I heard Spain. Great. So here's our conversation. Spain is our suggestion.
Do you want some sunscreen?
I think so. It's sunny.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. We're taking care of ourselves. So. It's just that everyone's looking at you, and I notice that you're starting to burn, so I just want to make sure we don't draw any more attention to ourselves.
Oh, well, it's just kind of a flush because I'm so excited to be doing this right now. It's kind of a flush because I've been drinking heavily before this.
I kind of noticed that. Last night I went to sleep, and when I woke up at 3 in the morning, you were gone. When I woke up at 3 in the morning, I looked out the window, and I saw you dancing in the street. I saw you were gone, and I felt so happy to be alone for a minute without you.
Well, I was dancing in the street preparing for GlowFest. There's going to be a lot of dancing there, and there's going to be a lot of drinking there. There's going to be a lot of talking about sweet tax there.
Yeah, I still don't understand what that means, but I'm looking forward to
Just hang out here, and I'm sure plenty of people will be willing to tell you.
So I was thinking we might be able to go out today and get some food or get some drinks, really explore Spain and see what it's like. I've been working on my Spanish a little bit.
Oh, great. And now we're in Spain, yes. Sweet World, Spain.
Yeah.
Sweet World, not Spain. No, okay. I've reached the limit of my comedic potential now. Okay, so we're at the mariachi band conference.
Oh. Yes, and I just want to say to have this time with you is really special. So to have this time with you is grating on me, but I'm going to put it, I am going to fly home today, and I will see you when you're back. And see, give it up for these guys! Evan, you're a rock star.
Thanks.
You're awesome. Thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. So I'm going to bring up an incredible special guest, actor-comedian Jason Sudeikis. All right. Here he comes. I can give him I have a bunch of great stuff to say about him. Oh, I had a bunch of great stuff to say about you. Oh, like you were on Saturday Night Live for like 80 years. No, 8 years, something
Close,
like that.
yeah.
Oh, here, come on, sit down.
Should we sit down?
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
And,
gals. Hello.
Oh.
Hello. Yeah.
All right, well, great.
Great job.
Eh.
No, come on. I can't believe you memorized all that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Gotcha. Just like you guys memorize everything on Saturday Night Live.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we stare into space.
Exactly.
Is a big myth.
You're kind of just dazed. Okay, so thought we'd maybe start at the beginning, right at childhood. So you've talked about actually that a lot of stuff growing up affected your comedy later in life, like even basketball.
Sure.
So what were you thinking about? Did you have a plan when you were getting going early on when you were 8 years old?
No, not at all.
All right.
No, any 8-year-old that has their act together is no relative of mine. But I applaud them. I applaud them if they do. No, but I do have this like moment of like that John Irving book, A Prayer for Owen Meany, where if I look back at the choices I was making as like a young person, all of them were leading to what I was doing. So even when like playing basketball, I skewed a little. I was a hot dog, you know. If there was a fundamental play to make, I would probably choose to go behind the back or something.
Yeah. Steph Curry style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and or you know, Magic Johnson in my day. But I would. It was all performing. It was all me thinking it was a big show and a big lark, much to the chagrin of coaches and teammates and whatnot.
So did you have mentors that helped you in comedy or people that you particularly admired? You
100%.
probably got to meet them.
Yeah, I've had an incredible opportunity to have people that were heroes of mine, then become mentors, then become friends, then become coworkers. So, you know, someone close to Kelly, Leonard, and I, Tina Fey would be, you know, probably one of the biggest examples that people know. She was someone that her and her husband, Jeff was a director, a musical director at Second City during my time there. And yeah, Tina was just someone that I loved watching, and I loved her writing, along with this fellow, Scott Adsit, and all their sketches would be sketches that I would want to do in the touring company, or when we had the Second City down at the Flamingo years ago, we would do a lot of their sketches. And then to get asked to audition for SNL, you know, sending her like an email going, what do I do? And I don't know her at this point. She's just, you know, again, a hero. And at that point, like the head writer of Saturday Night Live, and I happen to have her email address because of this comedy fraternity I was a part of.
You happened to have it.
I happened to have it at that point. It was, and so and she was just like, you know, don't feel like you got to make it a big whole thing. Just set up your piece and then do it. And then she ended it with rock out with your blank out. The blank was not blank, but it rhymed.
You're at a business conference. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I did that. And so then once getting there, she was also the first person to tell me, because I got hired as a writer first. She was like, if you can improvise, you can write. So when you're dealing with that imposter syndrome, but a good mentor, a good teacher, a good coach, a good producer, a good boss is someone that sees something in you that you can't see within yourself. And it's sometimes a fear of success, sometimes a fear of failure. Bad parenting, you know, friends that were telling
Don't have children.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Avoid it if you can, or at least avoid seeing them. But yeah, she was like that. So that would be a big one. That's the first one that comes to mind, and not just because it's, you know, she's the all-powerful Miss Tina Fey, but she actually walked the walk there for me.
So you were in a ton of sketches. You can do a search on the SNL app, and like 340 sketches came up.
Yeah.
And I've watched like 120 of them. And right after this, I'm going to watch the other
rest,
ones.
The last 240, yeah.
So, you did good. So you don't just do comedy, you do math.
I think I'd get it wrong by 20. Yeah, 220.
No, okay, so what are the characters that like people come up to you and kind of just say, hey, I love X?
I would say the number one thing that people come up to me about is this sketch that we did called What Up With That? Which was Kenan Thompson hosting a talk show, and we'd always have these, 3 illustrious guests, always ending with Bill Hader playing Lindsey Buckingham from
who
Fleetwood
never
Mac,
got to say
and he
anything.
would never get to interview any of them, and there would always be this dance.
Fortunately, that didn't happen today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If it would have. I get so winded during that sketch that it would be, not worth the time. But that sketch is number one. From 8-year-olds to 88-year-olds, I've seen children, I've seen guys our age dressed up like that for Halloween, and the irony of that thing for me is that I learned. It's me doing a lot of like 90s hip hop dancing, like doing the Running Man and this thing called the Roger Rabbit, and all these these moves from me being a kid, like this white kid in Overland Park, Kansas. Who watched, OP?
Yeah.
White kids.
Well, there's 10,000 people here, so there's got to be someone.
What's that? Yeah.
There's 10,000 people here, so there's got to be someone.
No, it's one of the 50 states is going to get called out. That I watched House Party a lot, so I learned all these dances and whatnot, and then I did Second City and the whole Chicago experience. Then I go through and I write on SNL, and all these things that I had done for all these years, thinking I'm learning about comedy. The thing that I get once achieving like this pinnacle of sketch comedy, that being on Saturday Night Live, which was a dream come true, and at some point not even a thing I thought could ever happen. The thing that I get the most response for, the most sort of head nods for, is this thing that I did when I was a 16-year-old boy. So like the joy of making my teammates laugh or making my friends laugh is the same thing that makes an audience that of millions of people laugh. And there's a profound lesson for that to me, because I was trying to do anything but what I did as a 6. I wanted to show this growth as an artist, and yet it was nothing but a boy.
But your inner 6-year-old was crying out.
Was just like, just go dance, baby, do the moonwalk, let them have it.
And so it sounds like you identified a little bit with this role. Any other roles that you identified with? And don't say a-hole, please, or the devil.
The a-holes came about with Kristen Wiig. There's characters that we did. That we literally wrote that at like 5 in the morning, chewing gum to stay awake, because there's no more cocaine at SNL. Sorry, there isn't, but there used to be a whole bunch. It may have even been.
It was Nicorette gum, though. Or?
It's all Starbucks now. It's all legal caffeine, and so you have these late night writing sessions on Tuesday night, and we were just chewing gum to try to stay awake. And I'm fascinated by people that lack manners. I think that maybe coming from the Midwest or and so like the a-holes were that couple, and lo and behold, they've become an archetype that we deal with a lot in our country or in the world these days. But that one, I never felt too connected to. I guess maybe the devil. I like playing the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was always fun, and that's a.
What inner devil did you reach for that? I mean, you're from Kansas, right? There's nothing. No devil there?
Evil in Kansas. No. Mrs. Gulch, I think, was the only one from Wizard of Oz, was the only evil in my youth. But I think there was something about just his, amusement at the evil in the world, and kind of being surprised by people even going more evil than he would ever go.
That's impressive. I'm even impressed by that.
I know, yeah. It's fun to laugh at things that are very hard to laugh at.
That's great.
Try as we might.
Okay, so I saw we were talking earlier, and you showed some pictures of a venue in Vegas. So you had a little sojourn in Vegas. Could you tell us a little bit about that, since we're here today?
Sure. Yeah. I worked at a theater in Amsterdam for 6 months. I was doing touring comedy at Second City in Chicago. Left to go work at this theater called Boom Chicago. While there, I get a call literally from Kelly, Leonard, my boss at the time, saying, "Hey, we're going to open up this theater in Las Vegas at the Flamingo, 9-person cast. This fellow Mick Napier, who's like the comedy guru of Chicago then and now, is going to direct. Are you in?" I was like, "Oh, I can go from one city of sin to another. That makes sense. Yeah, sure, I'll do that." And so we were down the Flamingo. We were doing shows for like we opened in I'd say March of 2001, and we were doing shows for 8 people. And we had 12 shows a week, and we would do shows for 8 people at 7:30. Then there'd be a 9:30 show where we do shows for 8 people, and like me.
But you made it up in volume, just volume of shows.
We just lots of shows, quantity over quality. And I was like, why can't we just do one show for 16 people? Because union rules and all this stuff. So we were learning as we were going, and slowly but surely we built up this word of mouth campaign. Through just investing in the city and investing in other talent on the Strip, inviting cab members. Really, these very innovative things that we didn't have to worry about at Second City in Chicago, because it's like the third thing you do. You go to the Sears Tower, or whatever it's called now. You go watch the Cubs play, or whatever they're called now, and then you go see Second City. So there, it's like baked into the culture. Here, you have a million things to choose from, and some of those things are naked people. So that's very difficult.
And yet they're all here.
And yet they're all here with their clothes on, and we appreciate it. So we slowly built it up by word of mouth, but then also just really doing as good of a show as possible. And we invited cab drivers for free, so that when you got in their cab in the way, what should you go see? I'd go see the Second City, and
that was your cab marketing campaign.
Yeah, exactly. This was pre-Twitter. This was the original social networking.
There you go. And so you learned a little bit about business doing that. You've been involved in some other aspects. What's been your, executive producing, things like that? What's been your kind of learning curve on the business of entertainment?
I think it's, always growing. Never knowing what the heck I'm doing. Having good people, that work on my behalf, or with me, that take a certain percentage of my dough, which is fine. Yeah. It's part of the gig. But yeah, I think it's important to be a good show businessman, show businesswoman. It's two-part. All you do have to remember, remind yourself every now and then, it's show business, not show friends. All those little sayings that get said over and over by people that have known a lot more.
But yet comedians have not figured out that the customer is always right.
They have not figured that out yet. Yeah, I skew that way again, I think, because the Midwesterner in me and my folks both being in customer-related businesses. My dad was a headhunter and executive search. My mom was a travel agent. So I was always aware of customers, clients. It's whenever I need to get something done on a phone call when whatever, like your computer is messed up. It's my instinct is to always get as human as possible and be like, look, I know I'm mad at you and you got a boss and we all got bosses, but like if you can really help me out here. And that's all I think, from watching my folks have to do it and willingly do it, not hang up the phone and be like, roll their eyes at the customer. I think they legitimately wanted to solve the problem on their behalf because they knew that the ripple effect of, word of mouth, of doing a good job, of working hard. My sister says hard work is, good work is hard work. That's what my little sister came up with, and I was like, I'm going to steal that. Take that.
Yeah, and so we did a little exercise earlier, a little improv, and you've done a ton of improv. So how do you create the chemistry when you're doing improv or when you're doing sketch comedy? Is it sort of different?
I truly believe the biggest thing, and it's not just in improvisation, right? And it's life in general, is listening, like active listening, not like listening, panel shows, on news networks of like hearing one buzzword and then waiting 2 minutes to go back to that. But I mean, literally actively listening.
And I am actively listening.
I know you are. I can tell. You have to. You're in the spotlight here. But I think that's a big part of it. I mean, it works at interviews. It works in improv scenes. It works on first dates. It works on last dates. If you are sincerely listening and not
really, don't you just do active talking during the last date? Very active.
Depends which side of the last date you're on. If you're being asked to move on, maybe you're doing some less, some active pleading. But yeah, I would say that's the biggest. It seems obvious. It's like, how do you play the trumpet? Well, you got to put your mouth on the horn. It's that obvious, but listening is where it's at, man. That's a big thing that you have to learn in the improv world.
That's great advice for everybody here. They get a lot of business advice, but that's life advice. It's a lot.
I would say.
So you've been involved in some cool nonprofit efforts, and
sure, yeah.
Thundergong concert, Big Slick. Can you talk a little bit about what that's brought into your life, what it's brought into sort of other people's lives?
Oh man, I mean. Yeah, I've been very, very lucky. I've been very lucky with the people I've been surrounded by, very lucky where I was born, who I was born to, all that stuff. And so the opportunity to use the platform that I achieved that used to get me a lot of demerits and detentions in school to help people that need it, that don't maybe have access to things that they have immediate within their reach, within their circle. So Big Slick is a thing that was started by myself Rob Riggle and Paul Rudd, and then Dave Koechner and Eric Stonestreet, all actors from the Kansas City area. Like Paul and I went to the same high school.
Really?
He's much older than me, although you couldn't tell it. Guys, I think a vampire.
We're going to look that up afterwards.
Yeah, Shawnee Mission West High Schools. Rob and I met at our audition for Saturday Night Live, on the Upper West Side, where I was talking about Kansas City.
What was your, okay, I got to do a diversion, because you always ask, what was your audition like?
It was doing three original characters and like 6 impressions. And this would have been 2003, so I did Ted Allen, who was on the original cast of Queer Eye. He was the food and drink guy from Queer Eye.
Oh, got it.
Now there's a whole new Queer
Joe
Eye.
Biden wasn't
Joe Biden was
available
not
yet?
even on my radar at that point. No, Joe Biden. Joe Biden's all in the teeth anyway. I can't pull that off without the teeth. And the touching now, evidently. But I he's been doing it forever, but all of a sudden it's a thing. Bless his heart. But yeah, so that audition. Oh, so that Kansas City is just a town that has this great vibe to it, and we had all these guys that happen to be from the same area.
Yeah.
And Big Slick was Riggle's idea to help Children's Mercy Hospital, which is this incredible hospital that a lot of us had relatives go through, or my sisters go through, and there's a very personal connection there. And we've raised them we're in our 10th year, and hopefully this year we'll crack $10 million. But first year we made like 225. Our goal was 50 grand.
I got him to clap.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that applause I'll pass on because it's so much bigger than anything I'm doing. And that town sells itself. We have all these celebrity guests, and friends come in town. That first year, Adam McKay and Will Ferrell came out and really put us on the map. And we made 400% more than we thought we were going to do. And then it's just we haven't dipped once in 1 year, so we keep going. Then Thunder Gong is my good friend Billy, who is a lifelong musician. Lost his left leg, his hi-hat leg, to bone cancer, and he was a session musician in Nashville at that point, and he had someone going through the same surgery, and went over to talk to him and felt so good mentoring this person that he was like, how do I do this? Like, I love playing music, but how do I combine those two? And so we came up with Thunder Gong. It's a charity concert we do in November, and like last year, our friends Ben Harper and Chance the Rapper came out.
Oh, awesome.
And we made a buttload of money for people that don't have insurance or the means or the connections to buy an affordable prosthetic leg. So we can get $50,000 legs for like $500 for cost, and then get these people literally back on their feet now. The catch-22 that is like having an appendage that you can use at your job, and get out of bed and get out of your head, and see the sun through the clouds.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're not doing a Q&A today, but you've met with entrepreneurs and executives and things like that. What do they ask you, and what kind of advice did they seek from you?
Oh, man. They ask how to get on SNL. How can I meet Kristen Wiig? And my answer is always practice. No. No, I mean, what kind of things? I mean, a lot of it is a lot of the questions, the answer comes back to the listening one. A lot of times it really is like, what's the secret? And it's sometimes not even entrepreneurs, sometimes people within, my own, given, chosen craft or trade or whatever, is like, is there a shortcut? Is there a secret? It's like, there isn't. It's about, doing it. Put it like literally just repetitions, the effort. I saw David Mamet, the great American playwright, give a talk at the Goodman Theater like in '98, and someone asked the question, like a student from DePaul or somewhere, and he was so at his wit's end with this question because he'd probably been getting it for 30 years. Also a former, dishwasher at Second City, by the way. David Mamet, Kelly Leonard, and Jon Favreau. Not a bad trio.
All right.
But he was like, look, this is all I can tell you. Write a play, put your friends in it, find somewhere to do it. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Very specific
advice. And so he's very specific for playwriting, yes, which was the question. But I mean, it's whatever it is. There's an amazing opportunity these days with the internet. That's the great Wild West. That good is good. Cream rises to the top. So if you have a point of view, if you have something to say, if you have something, a change you want to see in the world, there's a place to put that now that doesn't get lost in the shuffle. I mean, it does a little bit, obviously, with the news cycle and whatnot. But if you keep hammering away at this point of view with like an intentionality, you can see results quicker than you could like when we were kids, certainly.
All right. Well, where should we look for you next? Are you doing another software conference?
When am I? Exactly. I'm right down the street. CinemaCon. I'll be in Vegas for the next 6 months. What have I got next? Oh, this great movie called Driven comes out in August. I forget where, like through Universal. It's basically the John DeLorean story told from the point of view of my character, who is the FBI informant. A little unreliable narrator, but it's a cool story about a madman narcissist who ran a company, and that was a Freudian slip, but ran a company, and sometimes his hubris and ego got in the way. But my character
very topical.
Yeah, and yet from the '80s.
Yet. All right, well, thanks so much, Jason.
Absolutely,
really
man.
appreciate you
thanks
coming,
for having me.
making us laugh.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
Likewise.
Talk to you soon.
Give it up. I'll tell you. You want your water?
See
you guys.
All right. That's great. All right, fantastic. And, well, I don't know if he was coming up next, if he knew he was coming up next, but I'd like to bring up my boss, and it's got to be a good intro. The only man that can follow Jason Sudeikis. Here he is, the CEO of Oracle, Mark Hurd. That's good, that's good. All right.
I couldn't help, the movie I saw Jason in that I thought was actually quite funny was, do you ever see this movie, We Are the Millers? Do you remember the one character in there, the theme where they had a family? Did you see this movie?
Probably. I've seen a lot.
Doesn't sound like you remember it. Okay.
Wait, say the name again.
No, we are the Millers.
The Millers, okay.
Honey,
have I seen that movie?
He's a low-level drug dealer. It's a comedy. It's about his boss then decides he's got an opportunity to make back some money he lost by going down to Mexico and bringing back a huge amount of drugs. So he recruits a fake family. Jennifer Aniston, a couple others in the family. Long story short, he gets into an encounter with a kid named Scotty P. Do you remember this? And this guy has a tattoo that says, "No regrets." Spelled R-A-G-R-A-T-S, right?
Yeah.
And
it's hard to fix that.
Jason's character is sitting there going, "You have no regrets, Scotty P?" And he's like, no. He goes, "Not even one letter."
All right.
And he goes, "No."
All right.
Not
Well,
one letter.
that's what you got to do.
It's quite funny.
That's good life advice. Okay, so we're here at SuiteWorld. You've been here before. You'll hopefully be here again. We've been talking about visibility, control, and agility, kind of three important attributes of growing businesses. You've seen a ton of businesses grow from the smallest to the largest. So where does visibility fit in? Where does it fit in now as you run your own behemoth?
I don't know. I think visibility, obviously you want to have as close visibility to what's going on the ground as you possibly can, whether it's at the R&D level, the sales level, whatever it may be. The bigger companies get, the tougher it is to get that visibility. It isn't always the number of layers of management or the spans of control, but many times the systems, the inability to get looks into the system and the complexity of the business is built. And so, I think our jobs for people that lead big companies is to try to keep making it as simple as possible to run them.
Yeah. And we talked about control and agility. There's sort of a little tension there. You want to keep everybody on the kind of path, but you want them to be agile when things happen, and that becomes harder, obviously, as it gets bigger. So, you've been involved in some huge companies. How do you inject sort of agility when you get to that size?
Well, you don't want everybody improvising, right? So you really want a homogeneous strategy executed, with as much improvisation as you can within the context of the strategy.
Right.
So being able to agree strategically, and I think that's a big deal, particularly as you get to big companies. It may sound trivial, but when you get, like in our case, we have 145,000 people, and they're all smart. And they all have, almost all, and they have a very, but they.
I hope I'm not the exception.
Anyway, and they all have various opinions.
Some things are better left unsaid.
They all have various opinions on how the play should run, and so as long as that's within the context of the strategy, but it's important for us, I think, Evan, first to communicate what we're trying to get done. Yeah. Communicate. I mean, you and I spend a lot of time talking about NetSuite. It's interesting, ever since we acquired NetSuite, I remember writing the part of the press release saying these products would go on forever. I remember writing that. And I still get the question, are you eventually going to quit building this product? And so communicating with clarity, this is our direction, this is our strategy, not just externally, but also internally, I think is a big part of that.
Yeah, so speaking of NetSuite, we're part of a bigger strategy that Oracle has. Maybe you can just talk about how you sort of see NetSuite fitting in. You're still happy you did the deal, right?
I'm
thinking about it.
I'm thrilled. I couldn't be happy. I mean, I think that it's as strategic an acquisition as we've ever made, and I think it's the team. You and the team have performed extremely well to make it look like as good a decision as I hoped it would look like.
All right. Well, I was fishing for compliments there. But so, and how does NetSuite fit into the overall sort of Oracle strategy, which is really, very, very broad, dramatic strategy for the next coming years?
Well, as you know, there's two big bets in the company: applications and database. And in the applications market is about 125 billion as it's constituted today. So it's a big market, a lot of money in it. And frankly, we think all of that is going to move to the cloud, all of it. Just for simplicity's sake, it costs less, it's more secure, there's more innovation. And we can go on for a long time about it, but there's really just no reason that all of the applications don't move to the cloud. The first generation of ERPs that were deployed down in the marketplace were pretty much led by SAP and Oracle. But SAP and Oracle didn't have 50% market share, believe it or not. So as often as you think about, it's often talked about like one had 45 and the other had 42, and hardly anybody else participated. That's not what happened. SAP had 24, 25, we had 21, 22. That means 53% of the market is in the hands of quote unquote others. And nobody of those others has more than 3. So the back office is, of the 125 billion, is about 75 billion of it, so the bulk of it is in the back office. We built a product at Oracle called Fusion, which is really built for the most complex companies in the world, big companies, great product. But frankly, not built discreetly for the purpose that NetSuite was. And I actually believe, contrary to many, that the two were extremely complementary. Whether it was NetSuite in a small division of a big company, whether it was NetSuite being the complete back end for a mid-sized company, these were perfect fits. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that now we sit here as the only company with a true SaaS back office suite, and we actually have 2 of them, and nobody else has 1 of them, is a big differentiator for us, and we're just going to continue to invest in both.
That's great. And I talked earlier about some of the distractions and obstacles that companies can see, and some of that's around international, some of the changes that are happening internationally. And you have a kind of a view, with Oracle, of what's going on kind of internationally that may affect companies of all sizes. So what are some of the trends you're seeing there that might be relevant for our audience?
Well, first of all, to one of your earlier points, when you run a company, scale doesn't drive complexity. If you're a one-product company in the United States, it's relatively easy, even if it's $100 billion.
Right.
The minute you go outside the United States, it gets more complicated. The minute you add a second product or a second business model, you get into the consulting business, some other business, that's what drives true complexity. To your question more about the economic back end of the world today, it's a strange time. I mean, my guess is GDP is growing about 3% globally overall, and for all of the shots at China, probably 800 billion of that growth is in China. Even at 6% and a depressed 6%, it's still a third of the dollars of GDP growth. I would say I think the U.S. fundamentals, I was just a little while ago on a TV show, and they were pounding me on really the same question. And I said again, I think when you look at the U.S. fundamentals, no political message intended, it looks as good as I've seen it look in years. I think this tax cut.
Here we go.
I can go into a lot of this in a lot of detail if you want to, or not. But the fact of getting capital, this was very different than was portrayed, in my opinion, publicly. In that, when you say the tax rate's going down to 20%, and it used to be 35, so we're going to give back 15%. That's not how it works. Most companies of scale outside the U.S. that have lots of business outside the U.S. don't pay 20%. Many don't pay 15. Many don't pay 10. Many don't pay 5. So you have a lot, because of deductions, you have a lot of U.S. companies that pay 0. So it wasn't exactly clear to me that 20% tax rates would not necessarily be accretive to the U.S. Treasury, not dilutive to the U.S. Treasury. But who would benefit would be dedicated domestic companies, companies that are just domestic, that really supply domestically, that don't have those outside the U.S. deductions. And from that that specific benefit seems to have worked.
Yeah. And just, say that we're politically centrist, the Obama administration also wanted to lower those tax rates. So it's all good. It's all good. Now we're going to shift really fast. So, improv. Did you see me improv earlier?
By the way, just so it's clear, because you can see how quick Evan wanted to move off this, right? Politically, we don't see eye to eye on every subject. I'm sure that would shock you, but okay.
All right, improv. We're improving. Okay, I don't know if you saw me. I did a little improv earlier, and it wasn't.
I didn't, but I'm
it
sure
wasn't
very
a
impressive.
Complete disaster.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
It was a partial disaster. No, it was okay.
Was this when the two ladies were up here?
Yeah. And I had to change my answer at the change my what I was saying, take it back. It was called. She'd ring the bell, and I had to change my answer. And you ever done that?
No, and I'm sorry I missed it.
All right. Well, we can do it later. There's the Grow and Tell Theater out there. If you want to go up, they can play.
Take a mental note.
But seriously, the Second City talks about unleashing creativity through improv, and what is the role of creativity, even in very large companies? I mean, and how do you foster it?
Well, I mean, as you know, the key to us, we only do two things in the company: build products and sell products. I mean, we have a lot of other functions to help support those two things in the company, but if we don't get those two right, not much else matters. And I think for us, trying to get innovation into our products is at the core of it. Right now, we're going through a massive sort of revamp of our products, not in the sense of the core code, but implementing analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning. I think we're at the beginning of, in AI, what's going to be a massive move over the course of the next decade that you and I don't even know how it's going to work out.
Sure.
I mean, things like what's being done to applications now. I mean, again, we're not a company that believes AI gets to become a separate application, but it becomes a feature that's integrated into really all the core applications. And it's going to do everything from automating the way you communicate with people, all the user interfaces are going to change, all the analytics solutions are going to change. And so creativity for us is not only implementing and executing, but not being fearful of what the outcome is going to be. And so I think it's a big opportunity for us.
Yeah, and when we think about AI and machine learning, we think of it not only within a company, but sort of across companies. There's so much data out there. And do you think that, when you see companies trying to sort of figure out how they fit into an industry, do you think there's a role for some, kind of aggregating some of this data and looking at how the whole industry is performing, things like that?
I think the first use cases will be much more mundane.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an example. When I was CEO of HP, one of my big issues was, I'll give you an example. We used to sell $8 billion into China. We exported $14 billion out of China in 2008-9. And we did it mostly out of Shanghai, and we had 2 runways with 747s that would leave every day, and we'd load up a ship or 2 every day that would take 28 days across the Atlantic with finished goods. Now, those finished goods, in general, had to be allocated as they went across the ocean. It's not what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was to get those goods on the ship as fast as they were made, and I wanted to allocate them dynamically while they were on the water. I wanted to be able to integrate my order system directly into my supply chain system. I wanted to get, I never heard the word blockchain in 2008. I wanted to securely align a transaction from my order system into my supply chain system so that I can then dynamically allocate that good that was on the boat to somebody who wasn't going to have it perhaps for whatever subset of 28 days that ship was still in the ocean. I used to tell our guys, this is what we're going to do. Maybe I'll say, there's no chance in hell we're going to be able to do that. We don't have the systems to do that. Everything is siloed. We can now do that. And so the ability for us to now, I mean, I'll take something as simple as recruiting. We recruit 20,000 people a year in the company. We recruit almost all of them through a recruiter. Wouldn't it be nice to know the 100,000 people we've recruited over the last 5 years, all of the correlations between them and their success, or perhaps even lack of success at Oracle? Well, it's hard for us to do. It's a lot of data. It's a lot of crunching. It's, you know, it's requires standard product. We can now do that as part of a recruiting app. But if I told our head of HR, come to an AI, you know, presentation, she's not coming. If I told her I got a new recruiting app, she's coming.
Yeah.
If I tell the head of supply chain, how would you like to see the new AI capability in the sky? He'd say, I'm not going. But if I told him, we at the same time now can dynamically allocate inventory, they're coming. So I think you're going to see these tens and tens and hundreds of use cases that are really AI integrated directly into the applications themselves.
Yeah, and so you know that's exciting for us. We're doing, you know, really looking at those same kinds of capabilities within NetSuite, surfacing things like we have the supply chain control tower, because we love metaphors, and but it is all about identifying problem shipments and helping you remediate more quickly using using AI. And I just wanted to touch a little bit on, you know, because I'm super charged up by it. I started in the Oracle database group in 1987, and I just went to your offsite down in the desert and talked to some of those same guys I worked with. It's the same guys building this stuff, but now they're building it as a service. And that seems transformational. We're going to use it. We're going to move NetSuite into OCI, and we're going to deliver it with autonomous database. Do you think people appreciate the, you know, kind of dramatic change as you move towards a self-patching, self-tuning, all this stuff? I mean, it looks like it's good. We've already done tests that show it's going to be amazing for a really complex application like NetSuite.
Well, almost assuredly no, because we haven't delivered it. So it's funny. Is that Juan? I can't tell. It looks like him, but it may not be. But the thought of it, just to give you some idea about, I don't want to get you too much into database technology, because it's probably not the #1 topic on your mind. But
it is on mine. I mean, no, just kidding.
Is that, do you think, reflective of the entire audience?
Probably.
Okay.
Really? Aren't they all exactly like me?
Okay.
No.
All right. Got it.
You know, I think what they are interested in, though, obviously they're all NetSuite customers, and they're using NetSuite, and you know, some of the things that are transformational for enterprises are going to be transformational.
All right, let me give you a couple quick stats. So I'm in a 1-hour meeting with the CEO of one of the 4 biggest banks in the United States. 30 minutes of the 1 hour, he went to one subject called, quote unquote, patching. How do we patch the damn, why is my bank so bad at patching your database? I mean, and a patch being, you know, a vulnerability comes out, it's recognized in the database, we put a patch out, we deploy it. To be very blunt with you, it takes 10 months, 12 months for our customers to deploy that for a lot of reasons into their enterprise. So he says, we're doing it in 5-6 months. And my audit committee is all over us to speed this up, because we don't want to be in front of US Congress saying that Oracle released a patch, we didn't deploy it fast enough, and we got hacked. Now, you might say that's funny that a CEO would write, but he knew what it was. He knew what a patch was and knew why it was important to the bank. This autonomous database would actually take all of the manual labor of the patching process and automate it. We could release a patch in the morning, and by the afternoon, that patch is deployed through everybody that's now on the service. No patches. So, really big deal. I mean, I think your example, I remember you told me this story, and if I'm roughly right, if I'm a little bit off, don't spend the time to get
I won't say a word.
Okay, so in 15 years, you wrote, what, roughly 9,000 indexes to the Oracle database? And I'd argue.
Yes, Mark.
Thank you. So that was, and I'd say a very good engineering team, very smart people that had familiarity with the Oracle database. You deployed the Oracle autonomous database, just trying to do a trial, and the database in 24 hours wrote 6,000 indexes, if I got it right. And did we get any better in performance at all? A little bit better in performance?
Yeah, like first try.
Yeah, by the way, this is nobody touching it. So 15 years of people working, 15 times 365, smart people writing 9,000 indexes, all machine learning AI driven, and now the machine comes along and says, really glad you did all that work. We just now did it in something like a few hours, wrote 6,000 indexes, further optimized it, and got your performance gain. Now imagine, by the way, that's iterative. That's not a one-time gain. That can continue to get better and better and better as the tools get better and better. So now imagine that rippling through our entire base. So you get more security, less labor, better performance. I mean, this is all going to be magic. We're just getting it deployed now. So NetSuite's not running on it now. NetSuite will run on it.
We absolutely.
And the OCI, as you talk about, OCI stands for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and that is really the infrastructure environment that the autonomous database would actually sit on top of. And they're built hand in glove to take advantage of each other.
Yeah, and the way it's relevant to everybody in this room is that they're going to benefit as we move NetSuite to this.
Everything we do in database will benefit every application customer we've got.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Mark. I really appreciate you coming up here.
My pleasure. By the way, I want to say one last thing. One last thing I want to say is that I get questioned all the time about our commitment to NetSuite. And you didn't ask me about this today, which is great, but I wanted to make sure that there's no confusion whatsoever. The press release I wrote, I stand by it every word. I expect NetSuite to go on forever. We're investing in it, more industries, more countries. We're adding R&D. Evan likes to add a lot of R&D. It's expensive, but we've done that. We're adding more salespeople, which may not be something everybody's all excited about, but we're doing that all in the interest of continuing to invest in the technology and the product, and by the way, in the implementation of the product, in the infrastructure underneath the product. NetSuite is going to do nothing but get better and better and attract more investment from us.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Evan.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for this morning. Thank you so much. I want you guys to have a great SuiteWorld and have a great rest of your week. Thanks a lot.